playoff week prep bird 365 with John McMullen and Jody McDonald. J-Mac, what are you doing this morning in a playoff prep week? I know. Wait a minute. The coach said he won't talk about the playoffs. Well, the heck with him. Well, we can talk about the playoffs all we want. Yes, we will talk about the game against the Cowboys on Saturday, but we will also look ahead to the playoffs. And as Nick Sirianni said that yesterday when he met with all you guys, the Eagles were laying some playoff foundation, or at least it seems this way, and I'm going to get your take on it, with the announcement of as many COVID players as they have hitting lit. Oh, my God, what a breakout, John.
Yeah. What timing of that potential breakout? Look, man, I called shenanigans on this almost immediately. The Eagles are never going to admit it. They've already had certain people, obviously, that are close to the team come out and deny that there's any hijinks here. But, you know, this doesn't pass the smell test. And, you know, I sent out a tweet last night that said the Eagles are one of the smartest and most savviest teams in the NFL. And people don't like Howie Roseman. I said, this front office is just look at the NFC East, Jody, and compare the Eagles front office really since the beginning of the Andy Reid era, because that's where it started. That was the apex, compared to the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones, or forget about the Washington football team and the New York Giants, who are an absolute disaster. I mean, you gotta play the game with context. We always talk about it on this show. For all these people that hate Howie Roseman, he gives you every little advantage possible under the sun, which is his job. It's not just draft picks. I get everybody gets focused on first round. And by the way, first round draft picks who get, you know, everybody misses on first round draft picks. Again, look at the rest of the league. Go down the list. Start with the New England Patriots. Look at the N'Keal Harrys of the world. Everybody misses with first-round picks. Everybody. I get that's what people focus on. Understandable. But, man, they're good with this kind of stuff. And they saw a loophole, and they took advantage of it. That's my speculation. Eagles are going to deny it, because they don't want to be portrayed as taking this anything less than seriously, because you know how society is today. But they took advantage of this situation, and it was a very, very smart move from a pure football standpoint.
All right. This is, of course, speculation. There is no proof of this. There is nothing that you can tie it directly to other than your own assumption. For those who might not quite understand the point you're trying to make, lay it out for everybody as to where they will be garnering an advantage if it plays the way that we think it's going to play, that they could potentially be back in 5 days and even be able to participate in the game against the Cowboys this week. Couple guys like, I think Kelsey and Cox were planning on sitting them anyway. So whether they're COVID related or not, they're probably not going to play in the game. Explain to everyone how the altered protocol rules in the NFL have changed and where the Eagles would get an advantage by putting 12 players on the list 5 days before their next game. But more importantly, a week and change, almost 2 weeks before their first playoff game.
Well, number one, I want to say I'm not the only one who pointed this out. I mean, maybe the most famous doctor in football, Dr. David Chow, the pro football doc, he put up a YouTube video saying essentially the same thing. Tom Pelissero, who broke the news that the Eagles would be sending roughly a dozen players on the COVID list on Monday, then tweeted, which we've mentioned on the show, fully vaccinated players only tested if they are symptomatic, randomly selected, or volunteer. Entering playoff time, it would make sense for more players to get tested Mondays, starting the 5-day clock early to not miss games. And once you test positive, this is the key part. Once you test positive, you're done. Once you get a 90-day window. You don't have to test again for the rest of the season, and that is through the playoffs. So there is a loophole that you could drive a truck through, which is, people have brought this up with Aaron Rodgers way back when he tested positive. He's good. He's good for 90 days. It's a dumb policy. It doesn't help anyone. It only hinders teams, but there are smart teams and there are dumb teams. And there are strong animals in the forest and there are weak animals in the forest. And guess what? The Eagles are one of the strong ones, whether fans realize it or not, because of their hatred for Howie Roseman. This organization is smart and it's savvy, and they took advantage of the rules. I'll say it flat to everyone.
Fair enough. So you're suggesting that of the 12 guys who tested positive yesterday, that there were more voluntary tests than random tests.
Oh,
that they told players, listen, we want you to test. If you come up positive, all right, so you're out for 5 days. You're asymptomatic now, so just the positive test is only going to.
Well, it might even be a snipple, Jody. They probably got everybody together and said, look, if you even have a snipple, you go test on Monday. And if in the worst case scenario, if you test positive, you're more than likely going to be cleared for the game. You're probably going to see, now it doesn't even matter for this game, because despite Nick Sirianni talking about, I don't want to talk about playoffs, Jonathan Gannon, keep your feet on the ground, be where your feet are. They don't care about this game. They don't. The one guy, Jason Kelsey, because of his consecutive game streak, I think he might try to get back and play a series or two just to keep that going. They don't care about this game. So my point is, I think next Monday you might see a similar list, and people are going to freak the what out, and it's not going to be a big deal. Hopefully people will explain that to them, but get ready for it. Get ready for it, because they're going to tell everybody the same thing. Look, if you got a scratch in your throat, Jody McDonald, go get tested on Monday. Not Tuesday, not Wednesday, Monday.
Yeah, but why are you limiting it to those who have symptoms? Why wouldn't you just test everybody? Let's take our shot here. If we don't have, we don't have. But if you've got anything, let's take a look.
Well, they could have. They could have. I mean, they could have done it in-house and said, look, let's get this. Let's test the entire team.
We're testing everybody. Yeah, that's what I'm figuring.
They might have done that as well. That would make sense. But either way, whatever it was, they're gaming the system. They're gaming it. They're gaming the system. And by the way, good for them. Good for them. You can. Those are the rules. Use the rules to your advantage. I always go back to that New England-Baltimore playoff game. This will be easier for people to understand, where John Harbaugh was losing his mind on the sidelines because Belichick came up with this formation and he was hiding the tight end in line, like where a guard was or where a guard lines up. And, they're saying this has got to be illegal. This has got to be illegal. No, it's not illegal. It is now. It wasn't legal at the time. He won the stinking game because he found a loophole. You find a loophole, you take advantage of it. The problem is, other teams are going to start doing this as well. So maybe they pulled the trigger a little bit early, but better to be cautious and better to be safe and sorry, because we've seen it week after week after week after week. This list train wrecks people. The NFL changed the rules to keep players on the field. The Eagles took advantage of it.
Here's my only issue with it, because you're right. Anytime you can take advantage of a quote-unquote loophole, you should do so. but we are talking about positive COVID tests here. And we are talking about the health of the players.
Well, that's the dirty little secret. And I've said this before, Jody, and this is going to upset more people. Well, what the hell? I've already upset so many people. To this day, I'm not going to say I haven't heard anybody, but I haven't heard many people say, insert name. The most high profile would be Aaron Rodgers. Hey, how's Aaron doing? Haven't heard one person. Now, that's not, there's occasionally, I'm being a little bit of hyperbole in there. But all these angst-driven, all these shaming people, they never say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? You know why? Because they know they're fine. They know they're fine. These are young, healthy people. This is a disease that affects people like me that are older and overweight. And, you know, we got to be, people like me have to be more careful. If you're a 22-year-old healthy male, this is not serious. Everybody knows it, but they got to play the public relations game. So nobody asks that simple question, and that should tell you everything you need to know, Jody. Nobody says, I hope, pick a name off the Eagles list. Have you heard it once? I hope so-and-so's okay.
Right.
Because I haven't.
The only possibility would be, I hope that Jalen Reagor actually needs to take some time off.
No, you're going to get in trouble now.
That's okay.
I hope everyone is okay. I hope everyone is fine. And then you take the next step when you point that out to people and they say, oh, I got caught. I know they're okay. Then they go into, well, they could change it. They could give it to somebody else who isn't healthy. Well, nobody's supposed to be around the players who isn't fully vaccinated, boosted, all that kind of stuff. That's why I brought up fans falling on Jalen Hurts. That's why those security guards were trying to get him out there as quickly as possible. And Washington's going to pay for that. They don't let fans near the players. They've done everything possible to keep people away from the players for that particular reason. But yeah, I mean, nobody asks the simple question because they know the answer. And that's, you know, we can either tell the truth as a society or we can continue to lie to each other. Don't ask the question, and I'm not talking about you, Jody, but you don't ask the question because you already know the answer. And the question is, hey, I hope Dallas Goddard is okay. I hope Jason Kelsey is okay. Why? Because you know they're okay.
Here's where I'll, for the most part, agree with you, but not 100%. Yeah, the players could be positive, and they could pass it on to someone else who, even if boosted, even if vaccinated, could fall ill and become much more ill than any of the players. You cannot just dismiss that because they don't have these guys under quarantine. They're not living at the NovaCare complex. They are going home to their lives and their wives and their kids and their mothers-in-laws and the like. So you can't just dismiss that. So the Eagles are minimizing that. What is the risk? Oh, yes, as you just pointed out, it's minimal because they are very young, highly well-conditioned athletes who, even if they are positive, chances are it's not going to have any effects on their lives and or, most importantly, for most Eagle fans, their ability to play football this weekend, next weekend, hopefully the weekend thereafter. It is gaming the system. And when you're gaming the system, you're taking advantage of something. And there's a reason why it's called a loophole, because that's not what it was meant to. That was not what the intention was when they put these protocols in place. So they are taking advantage. They are at a very slight risk, putting both their players and the people around their players, at least in some risk. Is it a worthwhile risk? Yeah, life is full of risks, and the Eagles are willing to take a risk here, and apparently all their players were willing to take a risk here, because out of those 12 guys that all tested positive, we know none of them said, well, no, I feel fine. I don't want to get tested if I feel fine. If it's random, well, then random test me. If you tell me it's my turn to take the test, I got to take the test. But you want me to volunteer and go take a test? No. I'm fine. I don't want to go take a test. You think I like that thing stuck up my nose? No. If I'm not on the list to be tested this week, I don't want to be tested. No, every one of them had to go, okay, yeah, I'll get it. You think it's better for me to have the test now? Get it over and done with? Even if I get a positive, I don't have to test for another couple of months? Okay, I'm in. So the Eagles chose the individual players who are the ones who are actually at risk and who are putting someone else at risk if they find out they're positive and they're taking it home. They all okayed it. They all said, yeah, I'll test. Where do I have to go? Where's the guy? All right, hold on. Let me turn my head up so you get at my nose. They okayed it. They made the call. So are they gaming the system? Yes, they are. Is it the biggest affront to people or what we're dealing with across the country with COVID? No, it's not. You're right. It's a bunch of very finely conditioned, very young athletes. And the science says that these guys are not being adversely affected much at all.
No, and look, there is a public relations hurdle that the Eagles don't want to deal with, that the NFL doesn't want to deal with, because what you said is true also, Jody, and the fact that, yeah, they don't live in a bubble. They go home, they deal with their families and everybody else in the old shampoo commercial, two friends, and then they tell two friends, and then they tell two friends, and that's how these kind of outbreaks start. So you're 100% right. But if that's the case and everybody is so on board with that, then the NFL and the NFLPA should have got together and had more stringent rules. And, you could argue we shouldn't even be playing those games. And I think that argument would hold more intellectual honesty than this other nonsense where you're just trying to placate the vocal minority, I like to call them on social media, who likes to complain about everything, to be honest. And they'll complain about everything. And it's a very small group of people. I like to call them wing nuts. Could be on the right wing, could be on the left wing. I don't care. But you're a nut. And not you again, Jody. Talking to other people. If you believe in that way. And look, it is what it is. There are rules, and they took advantage of the rules. That was all I was trying to point out. And they are a very smart and very savvy organization. And contextually, when you compare them to other organizations around this league, look, every fan base, I say all this time, is very intra-focused. They don't look outside the walls of their own little kingdom, so to speak. They don't know what's going on in the AFC West. They don't know what's going on in the AFC North. They only know what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles. And to be honest, since 1999, they're not Green Bay, but this fan base is spoiled. This fan base is spoiled because they think this is normal. They think 4 playoff appearances in 5 years. They think all those playoff appearances is since 1999 is normal. Anybody who followed the Eagles pre-Jeffrey Lurie knows it's not normal. There's a little bit of spoiledness, I would say.
And specifically 4 out of the last 5 years. They make it 3 straight years, including a Super Bowl win, fall off the face of the earth last year, boom, right back into the playoffs. That's a pretty damn good track record. All right, we got Paul Domowitch joining us in just a couple minutes, but I need you to go on the record here. Prediction time from John McMullen. Of the 12 guys, and I'm going to go through them all quickly, and you're going to give me a yay or a nay. Of the 12 guys, how many will be well enough, clear protocols, be able to play in the game Saturday night against the Cowboys, knowing full well that they can make their decision when you're in the protocols, you have to be reinstated. So the team could say, even though I'm fine, I can go out and play. You need me to play 2 games. Say, Ernie Banks, let's play 2. Even if a guy says that and you don't want him to play, you can go, no, you're staying in the protocols for another day. We'll clear you tomorrow because we'll start to get ready for the playoffs. But, yeah, you're not playing today. So I need you to give me the yay or nay on each of the players who went on the protocols yesterday.
Well, we could do this quicker because it's not about they'll all clear the protocols that the Eagles want them to clear the protocols. Remember, you don't have to test out anymore. You just have to be cleared to return if you're asymptomatic. So the answer, my short answer is every single one of them.
Okay.
But the context of the answer is not every single one of them is probably going to come off the list for this particular reason. If you have people on
if
the
you're
COVID,
cleared, aren't you off the list?
well,
Doesn't that
yes,
determine whether you're on the list or not, whether you're cleared?
yes, but that's what I'm trying to explain. You don't have to clear them. I'm saying if they needed them to win week 18, every single one of them is what I should have said. They don't need them. They don't want certain guys playing. Most notably, I would think Fletcher Cox, Dallas Goddard, Nate Herbig because he's banged up, Jordan Howard because he's banged up. I said Jason might get cleared to play a series or two to keep his consecutive streak going. So anybody with an inkling of being banged up, or certainly Fletcher and Dallas Goddard, I think they want to put them in bubble wrap. They might say, "Hey, we're not going to look at you to check your symptoms before the game and keep them on there because." Then you can elevate people from the practice squad without using roster moves.
Right. That's why I asked the question to begin with.
Yes, but I'm saying there's, to me, and that's why I'm trying to explain it. There's different standards here. If they needed the game, everybody. So that's what I'm trying to get across to people. They don't need the game. They're going to try and rest people. Again, they're trying to game the system. They're going to keep a few people on that. I gave you some of the names, I think. Fletcher, Dallas, Nate because he's banged up, Jordan because he's banged up. And they're going to elevate players or try to elevate players using that spot. That would be my guess of what's going on.
So you think Boston Scott, although he's on the list as of right now, you got to get.
No, they might. I mean, he's just not hurt. So I mean, they might.
So are we talking 25 carries for Kenny Gainwell?
Good. Well, you also have Jason Huntley and Kerryon Johnson to elevate. That's what I'm saying. So if you want to keep Boston on it, you can elevate one of those. You might see 25 carries from Kerryon Johnson. Who knows?
They're playing the game as best they can. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We've got a good guest coming up next. Our buddy Paul Domowitch from the 33rd team and Philly Mag's going to come up and talk some Birds football with us here on Birds 365.
This is Joe Krause of Krause's Coats, inviting you to donate a slightly worn coat or jacket and help veterans stay warm this winter. Go to Krause's Coats on Facebook to help those who've served. Have a happy holiday.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
The city of Philadelphia sparkles during the Christmas holiday season with an array of colorful light displays and illuminated Christmas trees, donated or installed for free by the talented electricians of IBEW Local 98. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities at IBEW Local 98, visit us at www.ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
As a hardworking American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Beyond Cooley Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Beyond Cooley Law Firm. Find out why they say, we got this.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Mag guys, John McMullen here with you on Birds 365. We are joined by an esteemed colleague. You know him from years with the Inquirer, doing it these days for 3013.com and Philly Mag as well. Paul Domowitch, good enough to hop aboard for us, looking up and at him early. We appreciate that, Domo. I need to start here because my partner, my colleague, and I'm doing this with tongue firmly implanted in cheek, is suggesting that the Philadelphia Eagles are gaming the system when it comes to COVID testing with the fact that they had 12, count them, 12 players show up positive yesterday, that the Eagles are saying, go ahead, get the test, get it over and done with. 90 days thereafter, you don't have to test again if you come back. Would the Eagles risk the health of these rather young, finely conditioned athletes who don't seem to be all that adversely affected by the Omicron virus? Would they do that to their players, Damo?
One more reason to consider Nick Sirianni for Coach of the Year. Yes, they would.
John gave credit to Howie Roseman. You're giving credit to Nick Sirianni.
I think it's an ingenious idea, and these guys can't be tested going forward. Yeah. So they don't have to worry about Fletcher Cox not playing in any of the, depending on how long they last in the playoffs, guys like that. So yeah, there's something going on here. I don't think it's, they're working within the rules, but the rules are very loose right now with regard to the COVID testing and the COVID list. So they're not doing anything illegal. They're just taking advantage of what's there.
Yeah, they might have done it a little bit early, Damo, because this league and people are going to do the same thing. Now, there's only 1 week, but everybody's going to test everybody on Monday next week. And if guys pop positive, and they will, then they're going to be able to be eligible for the playoff game that weekend. So that's my only criticism. Yeah. I don't want to laugh because it's a serious virus, but that's the rules, as you pointed out, that the NFL and the NFLPA have agreed to. They changed them recently. And I don't believe in coincidence, Tom. The Eagles made a big deal behind the scenes when they pushed the game back to Tuesday against Washington, the first game. And they said, we've been doing all the right things, and we get, punished for it, essentially. And look, the league was just negotiating with the union at the time, trying to push through the first part of they've since changed it again and loosened it again. But I thought there was a little hubris there from the Eagles, thinking that they could protect themselves and they were doing all the right things and they weren't going to be hit by this virus like at the time, Washington, New Orleans. You've seen it all over the league. But it really affected Washington's playoff chances, really affected New Orleans' playoff chances, teams like that. I thought there was a little bit of hubris, but I got to give him credit. This is and I called him on Twitter, and I got in a lot of trouble for this because people don't like Howie. This is one of the smartest and savviest organizations in the league. Few people have been around him longer than you. Would you agree with that sentiment?
Well, I've been critical of him at times because he's made some high-profile mistakes draft-wise. I mean, we can start with Justin Jefferson, most notably. But, hey, I mean, this is the guy that put together the 2017 Super Bowl champions, which included some incredible signings that nobody even noticed at the time. People like Patrick Robinson when they brought him in, and he ends up being an invaluable nickel corner for them on their Super Bowl run. He's learned a lot from Joe Banner as far as how to play the salary cap game. He kind of has gone overboard at times with restructuring, but he survived that because the cap has keep going up and is going to just soar now that they've got gambling revenue on the horizon. So, you're right. I mean, see, Howie's got the same problem Joe does. Didn't play the game, and people are always going to hold that against him. He's always going to be, he's always going to be the lawyer. Nobody's going to ever say he's the football guy. And he's also got a personality that rubs people the wrong way, including quite often us, because he just, he's very condescending. I used, at one time early on in his GM tenure, he had a great relationship with the media. He was very accessible. He was honest. And I'm assuming somebody burned him or he felt he was burned. And since then, it's been a different Howie Roseman as far as his dealings with us. But yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit. You're right. I mean, he's very savvy, knows the rules, knows how to skirt them occasionally, has made his share of high profile mistakes. But, you're right.
Damo, Dr. McMullen also conjectured with me last segment that all 12 of the guys could potentially be cleared and would be cleared if they really needed the ball in time for the game on Saturday. Some, they'll say, nah, stay in protocols because you're not going to play anyway. So you might as well stay on the list and we can bring somebody up from the practice squad, take a roster spot to replace you. The Eagles seem to be, and this is all conjecture on our part, to not be worried about the outcome of this game. That if they need to sit guys, they're going to sit guys. They're going to do what's best for protecting guys for the more important game a week later, which is the playoffs. But the Cowboys are on record, and I got to tell you, I'm surprised by this. Actually, I shouldn't have been. Shame on me. Jerry Jones came out and said, no, we got to win the game. I'm saying we got to win the game. We're going to play playoff football now. And he did so immediately after the game. So everyone fell in line behind him. The quarterback said, I'm playing. So the coach got up and said, yeah, we're going to win this game. We got to try and win this game. And they all take their clue from the guy who signs the checks. Are the Cowboys making a mistake here? Or does it really matter that much whether you're second or third or fourth overall in the conference? Do you really gain that much by playing one good game? Haven't we established what the Cowboys are or aren't? And it's not going to be changed by the 17th game of the season?
Well, I mean, there's more of a benefit to winning for them than the Eagles. I still don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Dak Prescott or people that are, Zeke Elliott, even though they're going to try to win a little bit more than the Eagles. The other part of the Eagles situation here is, and, John mentioned, probably none of these guys or very few of them are going to be taken off the list, which prevents a Joe Judge situation here. I mean, the Eagles can say, well, they couldn't play. They're on COVID. I mean, they can't be blamed for tanking this game to rest their guys. I mean, because most
so you think the Rams or the Cardinals or Tampa Bay is going to be questioning the Eagles for going in to tank the final game of the season for the second consecutive year?
Well, I think even the Cowboys might be angry if they just didn't put a reasonable team out there. So, I don't think that's their primary objective here for putting these guys on COVID. But it's a kind of a side plus for them. I don't think we're not. Tampa Bay and the Rams aren't going to have looked that far ahead to be offended by anything the Eagles have done, especially when you consider Tampa Bay's beaten them and feels that they're probably licking their chops right now the way Tampa Bay's playing, I don't think they're licking their chops about anybody.
Yeah, that's true. Tampa Bay's had a lot of injuries, obviously, and we know the situation with Antonio Brown. I did, one thing was brought up to me by some Cowboys people. Nobody knows Green Bay better than Mike McCarthy. I mean, look, it's going to be cold when you have to go there. And if the Cowboys, it's going to be pretty cold on Saturday nights, at least the early weather forecast here, Damo. They want to get ready to play the Green Bay Packers if they have to play the Green Bay Packers. Is there something to trying to get your players used to that kind of environment?
Well, I don't think there's any way to get used to it, John, unless you live in it. I mean, if Mike McCarthy may be used to it. None of those guys are. It's just you just hope for a warm spell and get your. I would keep my team out of it until it would as little as possible. I mean, I don't think there's. I know there's. History has shown coaches that go outside and practice in the worst weather they can possibly find to get ready for a game like playing in Green Bay. I
was with Bud Grant for all those years, so I mean, I think it worked with Bud. I mean, they used to not wear sleeves, and he would.
I mean, that was their environment. I mean, so they were used to it. I mean, what I'm talking about is a team that's like Dallas, going there, and I just don't think there's any way they can get used to it. I think they just have to, bite hard and hope they don't get frostbite for 3 hours.
Yeah, you hope for that 130-degree day pops on actual game day. It is really difficult. Green Bay's got the inside straight. They got to be the heavy favorite here. Is that do you see anybody on the NFC side of the bracket now that the Bucs are so banged up and so many issues? They were able to pull it off last year. I don't think anybody can beat Green Bay and Green Bay right now.
No, I agree. I mean, they're as close to unbeatable right now at home as there is. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just playing out of his mind. They've got a running game. They would have the weather on their side. It just, I don't know what the formula would be for beating them there.
They are the favorite, and they will stay that way through the playoffs. All right, Damo, I got to get you on the record about this, and I just found this by happenstance today as I was looking stuff up. The Eagles' number 2 wide receiver, Jalen Reagor. Last year,
he's number 3, but go ahead. Quez is
he
number
3?
Quez is
sure he's number 3?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How do we determine?
Well, that's sad, by the way. That is sad that he is. Quez is number 2, which is bad enough, but Jalen's number 3 now. But I know where you're going. I'm sorry. I shouldn't.
All right, that's okay. Last year, his season last year had some injury issues. He played in 11 of the 16 games. He had exactly 31 receptions last season for 396 yards, 31 receptions on 54 targets. This year, he's played 16 games. He's got 31 receptions on 54 targets. To this point, he's got the exact same number of catches and the exact same number of targets, but he's only got 280 yards receiving as compared to 396 last year. So he's down 116 yards in the same number of catches and same number of targets. This guy's going backwards. Why is he the second or third or fourth or fifth or sixth Eagle wide receiver at this time?
Yeah, I'm not going to defend Jalen. I've been hard on him. But, I mean, the reason his numbers are down are because most of his – I believe 13 of those 31 catches are screens.
They're all screens.
And very few of them seem to be have worked.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a couple that have been successful. But there's, for the most part, Dallas Goddard's been their only effective screen guy. And, Jalen Reagor, whether it's jet screens or bubbles or whatever they run with him, it's typically minus yardage. So that's kind of, and people kid me about this, but Greg Ward should be out there, not Jalen Reagor. I mean, he'd be helping him more. He'd be helping Jalen Hurts more. You'd be hoping the whole offense more, but they're not going to do that because Jalen Reagor's a first-round pick, and they're not going to, he's good in the space, or he should be, but
he's not even good in space, though, Damo. He's
Even
not even good in space. He really isn't.
That catch, that it was a difficult catch the other day. Should have made it. I mean, you can't say, well, I shouldn't say he should have made it. It's a kind of catch a good receiver can make, and he didn't make it. And there's been too many of those. So he's been I love people that tell me every time I mention Justin Jefferson over him, get past it. Well, it's hard to get past it when the guy's got 31 catches for less yards than he did last year. So.
But, Jefferson's interesting because he's a guy I brought up when people were yelling at me, and that's the first name they always bring up. Look, the Eagles made a mistake. There's no doubt about it. They screwed up that particular draft pick monumentally. You have what's turning out to be, it's very early in his career, but, one of the best first 2 years ever for a wide receiver against a guy who is not even producing at all, as Jody mentioned, which is, we can all stipulate to that. And my point is, if you ask the Wilt family to trade Justin Jefferson for the Eagles front office, they would probably do it. So my overriding point is everybody misses on first round picks. You can go to New England. Look, New England is the real gold standard. We all know that. They've missed on plenty of first-round picks over the years. It happens. It's not great. Your odds are better to hit in the first round than the 6th round or 7th round. But, you get Jason Kelce in the 6th round all those years ago. You get Jordan Mailata in the 7th round. That counts too. That counts too. And again, you look at the NFC East, Damo, and that's where I bring up the context. Would you rather have the Dallas front office, the Washington front office, the Giants front office? And you go on and on and on. Nick Sirianni's now a part of that. We got to give him credit. When you started this thing at 2-5 and you saw this team, did you even have an inkling this was a possibility?
Well, I knew they would get better, John, because, even before they started 2-5, you could look at the schedule and see, okay, they're going to be lucky to be anywhere close to 500 in those first 7 games. You hope they win maybe 3, and then they make hay at the end. I didn't expect the rest of the NFC to be quite as abominable as it's been, except for Dallas. I knew they were going to be playing the Jets and some of these other soft teams. But what shocked me and what's been responsible for this turnaround has been Nick's willingness to just flip the script and go to a 35-40 carry a game running attack. You just don't see coaches that are willing to do that, especially first-year coaches who have spent months planning how this is going to work. He just said, hey, this ain't working, and we got to change something. We got to take the pressure off this quarterback who's not ready to have this kind of pressure on him, and it worked. And it's why he's not going to get my Coach of the Year award vote, but he's certainly a guy that deserves a lot of credit for what he's done this year with this team.
All right. By the way, in Sunday's game, Quez Watkins 51 snaps, Jalen Reagor 51 snaps. So they were co-wide receivers too. I wasn't that far off calling him wide receiver too. That's determined by who's on the field the most, not who produces the most, as I also kind of pointed out. If you go by production, he could be wide receiver 6 with the Eagles this year. But again, I digress. Nick Sirianni get Coach of the Year votes?
No, I don't think so. There's too many. Again, and this is no disparagement of him because he's just done a fantastic job this year after early struggles. And, I just think there's too many other quality candidates that jump out at you, including Bill Belichick.
Like who, Damo?
Belichick, Matt LaFleur. Trying to go down the list here. Even you could make a case for Brandon Staley. There's a few obvious ones I'm missing here.
No way. The Sirianni's done a better job. You've been doing this a long time. I've been doing it a long time. Coach of the Year goes to the guy whose team overachieves most in what's projected from the beginning of the season, not actually what's happening on the field. But
yeah, I don't agree with that, by the way. Like Matt LaFleur, I agree with that. I'm voting for Matt LaFleur. I mean, the guy's won 13 games 3 years in a row.
Hold on. That wasn't the question I asked. I didn't ask who you would vote for. I asked, would Nick Sirianni be getting Coach of the Year votes? And in handicapping the way the voting has gone the last 2 years,
fair.
5 years,
That's
10
fair.
years, 20 years, who wins? The guy who overachieves and surpasses preseason expectations. It's been that every year for the last 20 years.
I agree, but has anybody overachieved this year more than the Patriots? I mean,
Eagles.
They're still 9-7 right now. Okay, I mean the Patriots.
The Patriots are 10-6.
Yeah,
and the Patriots last year weren't 4-11-1.
I guess there are similarities. A rookie, a young quarterback.
Yeah,
I just Belichick has been overlooked. I mean, I can't remember when he won this last. He seldom wins it because people don't give him credit because he had Brady.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree. Every year, the Coach of the Year should be Belichick, the MVP should be Rodgers, and the Defensive Player of the Year should be Aaron Donald. But that's boring. So everybody's got to go looking for, the Jonathan Taylors of the world or the Cooper Kupps of the world. No, it's Aaron Rodgers, the MVP. Period. End of sentence. Aaron Donald is by far the best, but nobody wants to. They get bored and they want to go in another direction.
What I like about the AP voting for awards is they have an MVP, but they also have an offensive and a defensive player of the year. I'm asking you guys, who would be your offensive player of the year?
I would go Taylor.
Is the MVP.
I would go Jonathan Taylor, slightly over Cooper Kupp. I would give him a slight advantage. But yeah, I like that as well, Domo. I like the fact that they differentiate because, the MVP is going to be a quarterback. It almost has to be by the way this game is set up. So I would go Jonathan Taylor and then clean sweep of the obvious choices. Rodgers, Donald, Belichick, which is boring, but I believe it.
Donald over, I mean, I'm debating whether Micah Parsons is only the defensive rookie of the year or whether he's the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, he's been great, but Aaron Donald is so good. I mean, and, I remember talking to Brandon Brooks about, when we were allowed in the locker room, I would ask certain guys when I was voting for the Pro Football Writers All-Pro team, I'd ask the players, who's the best? I'd ask Torrey Smith, who's the best corners, and stuff like that. I asked Brandon, who's the best defensive tackle, and of course, I knew he was going to say. I think I even said besides Aaron Donald because I knew he was going to say Aaron Donald, and he wouldn't get off Aaron Donald. He said nobody else is close. Yeah. So and that's one of the best guards in the league, certainly at the time. God, he's so good. Micah Parsons is great, but that guy is first ballot Hall of Fame, which I got to get to you as the Hall of Fame voter.
Let me just add one here before you ask Tom a question. Yeah, I'm not taking Aaron Donald. I'm not taking Micah Parsons. I'm taking TJ Watt. Just wrecked that game last night for the Steelers. Got a chance to set the all-time sack record with missing games this year next week in Baltimore. Yeah, Donald could get it every year. Parsons has come out of left field to be an actual candidate, not rookie of the year. No, TJ Watt's a defensive player of the year.
Could you throw Diggs into that conversation? The kid from
well, that's one of the reasons the Cowboys guys, I think they're going to split the vote. I think you got Parsons and Trayvon are going to split. I kind of take the best player, so that's why I kind of default to Aaron Donald. But best players, best players better than most in a historic fashion. So I think disappointment for Eagles fans. No Eric Allen making the cut again. What did you think of the cut? I know you believe Eric should be certainly in that list, in that discussion.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. I mean, I've lobbied for him for about, for quite a few years now, and I thought I had made some headway. He made the final 25 last year. We don't know the count, so I don't know how close he came to making the final 15 last year. But I mean, I lobbied again this year, sent every one of the other members, what I thought was compelling reasons why, he should be at least in the room for us to discuss. And what disappointed me even more than the fact that he did not make the final 15 was that Rondé Barber did. Rondé Barber's a terrific player, but in my mind, he's not even the best barber in the house, Hall of Fame wise. I mean, I've voted in the past for Tiki on the final 25. He's never made the semis, but I mean, he's been on my ballot. Rondé's, his numbers don't match Eric. I think Eric's been penalized by the fact that he made it look too easy, which is hard to believe. But one of the problems I've had is there's finding respected coaches to make his case for him because they're dead. Buddy's dead, and before that, Buddy wasn't making much sense, so it was hard to use him as a guy to tell you about why Eric Allen belongs in the Hall of Fame. Bud Carson's passed away. I tried Jeff Fisher, who I thought would be a terrific advocate for him, and he wouldn't get back to me last year, which disappointed me. Maybe we just missed connections. I don't know. But it just doesn't, he wasn't. Part of the problem with the selectors is they go by a lot of them go by two things. One, Super Bowls. Yeah, and the other is all-decade teams. He did not make the all-decade team in the 90s because you had Deion Sanders, Woodson, and then the two second-teamers. Both of those guys were first ballot. The two second-teamers were the Darrell Green and missing somebody else, but all four are in the Hall of Fame. Aeneas Williams was the
Aeneas, yeah.
And Aeneas went in like 5-6 years ago. And at that time, I felt Eric belonged in before Aeneas. But so, I just don't, there's no reason he shouldn't. I don't know what to do next to get these guys to understand how good Eric was and why he belongs.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised about Rondé as well, Damo, because he was a cover 2 corner, and he was a great cover 2 corner. But I thought people would hold that against him, because when you think about Hall of Fame corners, you want press coverage guys. You want guys who can, and that's not really Rondé Barber's game. I was a little surprised by that.
Well, it was the same situation with John Lynch when Brian Dawkins was on the ballot. I made the case. You go into that room, you don't want to badmouth the other guy.
Yeah.
To vote with him, because it's going to backfire on you. People are going to hold it against you. So I didn't want to, but I used, I sent them, I talked to coaches and GMs who said, John Lynch was a great player, but he couldn't do what Brian Dawkins did in Jim Johnson's defense. He wasn't good enough to do that. But he was a cover 2 safety who did what Tony wanted him to do, and was capable of doing it, and was a great player at it. But they were two different players. Brian Dawkins changed the way the safety position was played. John Lynch wasn't capable of doing that. He fit into a system. And you're right. It's the same thing with Rondé over Eric. I just don't quite understand it.
All right, Damo, last question for me, and I don't want to put the pressure on you or anything, but your answer may determine whether I actually have any respect for you as a football writing analyst.
That's assuming you have respect for me now.
I do. Absolutely. As I sit here right now, before you answer this question, you have all the respect in the world for me.
That's what it could go
here. All right. The 4 teams that the Eagles can potentially play in the playoffs are the Cardinals, the Rams, the Cowboys, and the Buccaneers. Which team would you have the most fear of playing as of right now? Put the 4 teams in order of preference that you'd like to see the Eagles play, giving the Eagles the best chance to beat them, On the road, you know it is, because he's going to be a wild card. So factor in whatever you need to for that team's home field advantage if you feel that's an important part of it. Rank the 4 teams' preference that the Eagles should be want to playing them in the upcoming first round of the playoffs.
Least want to play. I mean, the team I would be most concerned about them playing right now is the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm with you, Damo.
Because there goes my respect.
No, you just gained more from me. That's more important.
I mean, I just don't see any way. Well, I mean, they lost Gallup, so that's a plus.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts.
But I mean, they can't. You know, they couldn't handle the tight end in Schultz in the first game. I just don't. I mean, I think that's a bad matchup for him. I think the Bucs are the best matchup.
That's what I told Jody. Styles make bites, and the Eagles don't match up well with the Dallas Cowboys. You know, we had Chris Franklin on yesterday. He picked the Bucs as well. Not only did he say the Cowboys are the most dangerous, but when you left, Jody, he said, "Give me the Bucs, Paul Domowitch. Give me Tom Brady."
Every ounce of respect I've ever had for you, Domowitch. You, McMullen, Franklin, but just keep disrespecting the GOAT, the greatest player of all time in the history of the National Football. What the fuck else does Tom Brady have to do to impress you and McMullen? Please explain that to me.
Nothing. I mean, you're right. He's the GOAT. I just don't think he's got the weapons that the Cowboys have, that Prescott has. The Eagles.
Where were all those weapons against the Cardinals on Saturday? What the hell happened to all the Cowboy weapons on Saturday?
For starters, the Eagles only lost to them by 6 points when they played them this season. So you got that.
Oh, stop it, please! You watch the game. They kicked the ball off. Tom Brady said, "How many minutes do I have to take off the clock to win this game?" Okay, fine, and that's exactly what he did.
I don't want any part of the Cowboys defense against Jalen Hurts and the offense.
Trayvon is gonna beat Jalen Hurts into something, just like he did in Week 1. Yeah. And you're gonna see a big pick six or an interception going the other way. Damo's right, 100%.
They play the Bucs. They can run for 200 yards. They can keep the ball away from Brady.
Well, I don't know about that. It depends if B2B is playing, because that guy, you ain't moving him.
What they need to stop, regardless of who they play, is they got to prevent what happened against what happened against the Bucs the first time, what happened against the Chiefs, what even happened against the Jets, where the Jets scored 3 touchdowns on their first 3 possessions. They got to stop with they were doing a pretty good job until last week of preventing scores early on, not letting teams jump out ahead, and then even last week they give up 4 scores it was the first time in this season they've given up 4 scores on their opponent's first 4 possessions. Fortunately, a lot of them were field goals. That's the only thing that saved them.
Damo, before I let you go and before we get you out of here, I'm pushing it, but your By the Numbers feature on Philly Mag, everybody should read that weekly. You brought up excellent points with this defense. Is it a mirage? Is it not? Basically, it's common sense. They've been really bad against good quarterbacks and really good against bad quarterbacks. Right. So what do we believe with this defense? What is there anything you can hang your hat on and say this group is good, or at least better than we thought they were early in the season?
Boy, I mean, they've been more aggressive. I mean, I think Gannon realized he had to be a little bit more aggressive. But you got down to that last possession on Sunday, and he only blitzed once on that, near disastrous drive until Rodney McLeod intercepted the pass. I don't know that there's, that's why. I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, they're in the playoffs. They're going to, and I think there's nothing but positive to that because it's going to give these young kids a taste of what it's like. But there's no Brady. I think is the only. I'm going to make him mad again. He's the only quarterback I think they can beat in the first round.
Both of you are an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment to your professions. I really have to. Just a quick question, and again, you've only been following the league for how many years? Decades. What is the single most important position in determining an outcome of a football game?
Quarterback.
Quarterback. Who's got the better quarterback, Tampa or Dallas?
Tampa.
Okay. Second most important position in determining on or off the field.
Edge rusher.
I would say head coach. I would say quarterback 1, head coach 2. That's just me. Who's got the better head coach, Tampa or Dallas?
Without a doubt, Tampa. I mean,
Thank you. I rest my case. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Domo. Appreciate it greatly. If I had the ability to strip you of your Hall of Fame vote, despite your impassioned plea for Eric Allen, which I agree 1,000% with, you would be stripped of your vote.
Well, this man hates the Cowboys, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't like the Cowboys.
We're
not criticizing Tom Brady or Bruce Arians.
My honest evaluation of the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going forward.
We're saying Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. You said Antonio Brown was going to be back, and Chris Godwin didn't have ACL surgery, and Mike Evans was healthy. I'd be with you. I'd say they got no shot against the Bucs. They're banged up, and
we're giving Tom more credit than even because he's doing this with a cast that's
and he's going to do it again this playoffs. Mark my words, he's going to do it again because he always does.
He probably will.
You guys will know Cyril Grayson, a former LSU track star, didn't even play football at LSU, who's now catching touchdown passes for the Bucs. Why? Because they're coming from Tom Brady, who you both have disrespected. And are you not going to vote for Brady when he's eligible for the Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
your fellow voters should go, Domo, you thought the Eagles should play him back in 2021. Why would you make the case for Brady as a Hall of Famer? Unbelievable. Domo, thank you very much. If John insists, we'll have you on again. That's up to him. I'm just along for the ride here. So
it's been fun.
Domo, thanks, buddy. Appreciate
it.
That is Paul Domowitch from 33rd Team and Philly Mag here on Birds 365. Just embarrassing.
We went long because of that.
We will shoulder on for the last 57 minutes of today's show. McMullen and McDonald here with you on Birds 365.
This is Joe Krause of Krause's Coats, inviting you to donate a slightly worn coat or jacket and help veterans stay warm this winter. Go to Krause's Coats on Facebook to help those who've served. Have a happy holiday.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
The city of Philadelphia sparkles during the Christmas holiday season with an array of colorful light displays and illuminated Christmas trees, donated or installed for free by the talented electricians of IBEW Local 98. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities at IBEW Local 98, visit us at www.ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
As a hardworking American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say, "We got this."
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Mag guys here with you on Birds 365. Yes, we ran a little long because I couldn't believe what Mr. Domowitch just said. All my NFL experts that I'm supposedly surrounded by that are just showing complete disrespect to the greatest quarterback of all time. And just let me get on the record. I hate Tom Brady. I always have.
I love Tom Brady.
I hate him with a passion. There's a big, ugly green streak running down the back of my
you're a Jets
derriere.
Guy.
It's Jets related. I know the Eagles lost to him as well in the Super Bowl. I got no use for Tom Brady, but I respect the hell out of him. He is not even possibly questioned as the greatest quarterback of all time. And I have to give him his just due for what he's done and what he continues to do, despite the fact that I hate him with a passion. But he's the greatest quarterback of all time, and you want no part of him in the upcoming playoffs. And oh, by the way, they got shut out by New Orleans a couple of weeks ago. They won last week.
By the way, here's where I'm giving, I can't speak for Domo, but here's where I'm giving Tom Brady actual respect. I said, look, I'm not as far as Domo and Chris Franklin. They both said they would want Tampa Bay. I didn't go that far. As you remember, I said I would take Arizona first. And that's because, in this Bruce Arians, they have more playmakers in Arizona. It's not even close. But that's because of Tom Brady and Bruce Arians versus Cliff Kingsbury more than, I like Kyler Murray. He's not Tom Brady, though. Let's be honest. So I'm actually giving them respect and putting them ahead of a team with far more playmakers because I don't want to deal with that quarterback mainly. Bottom line is whomever the Eagles play, they're not going to be favored. They're going to be up against it, whether it's the Rams, Cardinals, Cowboys. Who am I missing? Who's the fourth team? Rams,
Cardinals, Cowboys, Bucks, and
Bucks,
Cowboys, Bucks, Rams, and Cardinals.
They're going to be up against it no matter who they get. I think the worst style matchup is the Cowboys. That's where Damo and I agree. I just don't think the Eagles match up well. Gets a little bit help with Michael Gallup, but they have Cedric Wilson as well. So I don't know how much help that is. I just don't like that matchup. So either way, I mean, they're not going to be favored. No matter who they draw, they're not going to be favored. And I think the Cardinals and the Rams are preferable to the Cowboys and Bucks.
The Cowboys this year finished, as of now, 11-5, right? And the Eagles are 9-7. So the Eagles are 2 games behind the Cowboys. Their results are eerily similar, except for 2 games. One was the Cowboys didn't lose to the Giants. And we know the Eagles shot themselves in the foot in that Giant game, played their worst game of the year, never should have lost it. They did, no excuses. Jalen Hurts had his worst game of the year. Dak Prescott didn't do that either time he played the Giants this year. Any other game is when they played each other. That's it. Otherwise, their results are eerily similar. They both got a crack at Mahomes. They lost. They both got a crack at Brady. They lost. They both went out to Oakland and played Derek Carr, and they lost. The Eagles actually beat the Broncos, which the Cowboys couldn't do, but the Cowboys beat the Chargers, which the Eagles couldn't do. their results are like very similar, except for 2 games. One Giant game, and when the Eagles played the Cowboys early in the season, and I know the Eagles got their tails kicked down in Dallas, but this is a different Eagle team than the September Eagle team. They hadn't established themselves as the best rushing team in the National Football League. They hadn't wisely put TJ Edwards in as their best linebacker yet, and they got their tails kicked by the Cowboys early on. I give you that. That's it. Otherwise, the Cowboys are the Eagles. The Eagles are the Cowboys. Why are you running scared of the Cowboys? I don't know.
Well, you know me, I say it all the time. I'm going to use the word context for the 57th time. Look, the Cowboys are not a dominant team. I don't think they're Green Bay level, obviously. They lose games they shouldn't have lost at certain times this season. But if you put the microcosm, they sure as heck played Tampa tougher than the Eagles did. People point to the final score of the Eagles, but you and I know what that game was. You bring it up all the time, and I agree with you. It was not a close game, and the Bucs took the foot off the gas. Week 1, when the Bucs were completely healthy, that's when people got to saying, "Oh, guess what? The Cowboys are pretty good," because they really pushed the Super Bowl champions to the limit. That's one. If you look at their Kansas City loss, that was the COVID game for them, where they were without Amari Cooper. I think, Gallup was out at that time. I think CD Lamb was out as well, and they lost. They scored like 9 points. Okay, and certainly they didn't play well against the Arizona Cardinals. We saw the Arizona Cardinals lose to the Detroit Lions. Not only lose, get routed. This is the NFL. I'm not going to say the Cardinals are a bad team because they lost to the Detroit Lions. They had a bad week. The Cowboys didn't play well last week. But I look at those receivers. And again, Gallup, they lost Gallup. That hurts. The CD Lambs, the Amari Coopers, the Cedric Wilsons. I look at that offensive line, which is top 5. The running backs are probably a little bit overrated. I think Pollard's better than Elliott at this point. The quarterback hasn't played as consistently as you would like, but he can play at a high level. You've seen it. I've talked about that defensive line, which has been amazing since Randy Gregory and DeMarcus Lawrence has come back. We just talked about 2 Defensive Player of the Year candidates with Paul Domowitch and Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs. I don't know, Jody. Man, that is a top point to me where the Eagles have the advantage against the Dallas Cowboys. I can point to you with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, at least because of the injury issues and the playmaking issues. There's no more Chris Godwin. That's Tom Brady's guy on 3rd down. He's done for the season. Leonard Fournette, Big Game Lenny, whatever they call him down there. He's not playing. So they don't have their key running back, and they're dealing with Ronald Jones, who's okay, but he's not going to scare anybody. Scotty Millers of the world. I don't even know who caught a touchdown pass against the Jets.
Cyril Grayson.
Yeah. I mean, all right. Would you rather deal with Cyril Grayson or CD Lamb? I don't know. Am I crazy?
I'd rather deal with Dak Prescott than Tom Brady.
Oh, I agree with you there.
It all starts with the trigger man. It all starts with the guy who gets the ball snapped to him. And I'm sorry, Tom Brady has his playoff history and Dak Prescott has his. And I want no part of Tom Brady's playoff history facing off against him this year in the postseason. None.
Well, yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not at the point. I'm not going to say that's the team I want. The team I would want is Arizona, and I stand by it because I don't think the coach is very good. You mentioned
they have no playoff experience.
Yeah, and that's why. So you look for maybe an advantage. I don't think they have an advantage projected against any of those 4 teams, but I think they have a better chance against the Cardinals or the Rams than the Cowboys or the Bucs. That's where I am.
All right. And I would rank the Cardinals as the team I'd want to play first for the reasons that we just stated. I would rate the Cowboys second. I think Aaron Donald has a better chance to wreck the game than any of the Cowboy defensive players. So, and I'm not a Matthew Stafford guy, but he's had about the same playoff success as Dak, which is none. And yeah, I'm staying away from Brady. He is the numero uno guy that you want no part of. All right, we'll take a quick timeout, come back. Still got plenty of show to go here on Birds 365. When we come back, I got to give John McMullen his props, despite the fact that he, Martin, Chris Franklin, and Paul Domowitch are continuing to show their misunderstanding of the game of football. He did a solid for one of his fellow Eagle beat writers yesterday, asking a follow-up question on Nick Sirianni's plate as to what they called their plays and how the TV coverage may have ruined the play for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll come back. We'll discuss that next here on Birds 365.
This is Joe Krause of Krause's Coats, inviting you to donate a slightly worn coat or jacket and help veterans stay warm this winter. Go to Krause's Coats on Facebook to help those who've served. Have a happy holiday.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
The city of Philadelphia sparkles during the Christmas holiday season with an array of colorful light displays and illuminated Christmas trees, donated or installed for free by the talented electricians of IBEW Local 98. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities at IBEW Local 98, visit us at www.ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
As a hardworking American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Beyond Cooley Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Beyond Cooley Law Firm. Find out why they say, "We got this."
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Mac guys, here on Birds 365. The countdown is on to a matchup against the Cowboys. And I'm sorry. Excuse me. I had to yawn with the game coming up against the Cowboys and the Eagles, which is unfortunate because you want every Cowboy-Eagle game to have a ton of meaning, and it's just not there for the Philadelphia Eagles. And my continued surprise that all my fellow football insiders have this utmost respect for the Dallas Cowboys, which I don't understand. And when Derek Barnett makes his biggest play of the year this week by rolling the ankle of Dak Prescott, who apparently is supposed to start for the Cowboys, and you get Cooper Rush against the Eagles next week. We'll see if the Eagle experts here continue to say, well, they match up badly against the Cowboys with Cooper Rush at the helm for the Cowboys. Disrespect for Brady. Anyway, kudos to you, John McMullen, watching the video of Coach Sirianni yesterday. Martin Frank, the outstanding reporter that he is, went directly to the first state, a.k.a. Delaware, who he writes for. And he said he picked up on the tape on Sunday, Jalen Hurts calling out a play called Delaware, or signifying a play called Delaware. And Nick Sirianni got a grin on his face like the cat who ate the canary and said, yeah, we got a little too close to the cameras. That happens if we have to scout the TV tape after the game to make sure things like that don't happen, that people who we played down the road aren't picking up on our calls. But sorry, Martin Frank, it's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with Delaware. But I'll tell you right now, we won't be calling that play Delaware anymore, because now everybody knows that play is Delaware. And he gave Martin a half-baked answer, and then you followed up with a question to do him a solid. Like, what else can we look for, Coach? We all have to pay that much more attention to the TV tape now? And you actually got a kick out of it. So I tip my cap to you, because you guys, I know, were both a competing but tight-knit group, and you did a solid for our boy, Martin Frank.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear that, well, no, I like Martin. Everybody, we get along, but I just thought it was pretty clear. I was about halfway through that particular press conference before it was my turn, and it was pretty clear by that point Nick wasn't going to give you anything about the playoffs. So I said, well, what's interesting? And that was interesting. And that's the kind of thing Nick likes to talk about. And what I like about Nick is he gives you information. He tries to educate fans. He tries to give them explanations. I like that as opposed to some other coaches. We'll see how long.
If you let me interrupt you for just 1 second, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't believe that. I believe both he and Gannon, and they're a lot alike in this way. I think they like you guys. I think they respect the job that you're doing, and they're trying to give you nuggets to be able to do your job. I don't know that he's looking to educate anyone. I think he's just a good dude who wants to help out the guys who are working hard covering the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, that part's true. Yeah, we have a good relationship with Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon. So that part of it is true as well. They try to help us as much as possible to help us do our job. But he likes talking about football, and he likes talking about the intricacies of the game. You know, you've seen it in the past when he, that sort of play that blew up, the Zapruder film play against the Giants. He gave a long explanation as to why the screenshot that you probably saw over social media didn't mean that much. He, same thing with the Dallas Goddard screenshot a couple of weeks ago, where he's wide open in the end zone. So I'm like, hey, Dallas Goddard's wide open. He explained in detail why he wasn't wide open in the quarterback's progression because of the coverage that was employed by the Giants, and they blew the coverage. And the quarterback doesn't come into a play with a default setting. Hey, they might blow the coverage completely. No, they're in a position to stop Dallas Goddard, so you move on to the next progression, and then your head's the other way, and you don't see the blown coverage over there. He does that all the time. So he likes talking about the intricacies of football. So I think it's probably all of it. He does like to educate fans. He likes to help the media, and he likes talking about ball, as he would like to say.
He is a ball coach who does like to talk ball. All right, in giving your answer about that play against the Giants, where it looked like Dallas Goddard was the most wide open player in the history of the National Football League. But it wasn't necessarily a mistake that the quarterback made. I do want to ask about the quarterback. After the game that he had this past week, John, I'm up to 95% that Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. The 5% that I have left isn't even the bad games that he's had, and the Giant game was one of them. The open guys that he's missed, bad passes, not accurate enough. The 5% that's left for me is for, as you like to call them appropriately so, FU players. Could Russell Wilson actually come on the market and have Philadelphia as one of his destination places, and the Eagles have the draft capital to get him? If they can get Russell Wilson, I think they have to investigate it. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be over his legal battles by the beginning of next year. And you're going to want to make a trade for him at some point. You don't want to trade for him on September 1st and say, all right, throw him in, let's go. After a playoff season, that's not going to be acceptable. I don't know if that's going to actually come to fruition, that he's going to say, yeah, I'll accept a trade to Philadelphia. But you have to keep the door open for FU players just in case. But that's all it is to me now. It's down to 5% out of the 100% of who's going to be the Eagles' starting quarterback next year. I was tremendously impressed with Jalen Hurts this past game. I know his numbers weren't huge, but the Eagles were on the ball. So he's never going to pass for 3. It's going to be very infrequently. The Eagles are going to have to be down 21-0 in the first quarter for Jalen Hurts to throw for 350 yards. They're just not going to do it, because that's not the type of team that they are. I'm up to 95% Jalen Hurts is going to be their quarterback next year. What percentage would you say you're at right now?
I like that percentage. I don't like when we agree. We agree here. It's about 95%. I said that. I'm leaving the door slightly ajar for that type of player you just mentioned, most notably Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. Watson more than even Wilson because of his age. Again, and I hope everybody knows I'm talking about it, Deshaun Watson, who was over his legal issues. So if he's not, that changes obviously the whole situation. Where I do believe the door is closed is the draft. It's still early, but it's becoming very clear that there isn't going to be that guy that shoots up the board that people love to the degree that they think is going to be a certain franchise quarterback. Maybe that changes by the Senior Bowl. We'll see. I doubt it. So I think you can close the door on the draft until next season. But, Damo just said there's nothing negative about a playoff appearance. I'm going to slightly disagree there, and I've said this in the past. There could be a negative if you make more out of it than it is. It's a nice little run. You get in as the 7th seed, maybe the 6th seed. Doubt it, but who knows? You can't overinflate that and say we're close, because we just mentioned those teams, and we're all arguing, well, who would you rather face? And maybe they can run for 200 yards. Well, guess what? They're going to be significant underdogs against all 4 of those teams. They're not close to being a championship, and they're certainly not close to the Green Bay Packers, who's not even going to play on the first weekend. So you can't overinflate that and say we're closer than we really are. And I've said for a while now, this decision at quarterback is not as difficult as people think it is. I think, there was this weird, okay, he's getting a year to prove himself. No, it doesn't have to be a year. Could be 2 years, could be 3 years. And if they can get better, they will get better. If they can't, they won't. And that's where I think the Eagles are. But I think they have to keep the door open to realize, because I'm watching that game, Jody. You brought up he's never going to throw for 300 yards. He could have thrown for 300 yards against the Washington football team. They were bad in the secondary. Devontae Smith was getting open. The Eagles didn't want to go away from their game plan of of running the football. Understandably so. It wasn't as effective. They had some wide open receivers. Now, part of it is the receivers. We spent some of the first hour talking about, who's number 2, Quez Watkins or Jalen Reagor. Who cares, really? They both stink. Greg Ward, I know he's your guy. All right. I don't care. Play him instead of Jalen Reagor. What do I care? It's not going to help you. Maybe it's the best you can get.
It's not, is he going to help you? Is he going to help you more than Jalen Reagor? That's the only question you have to answer, John. Not is he a top
Yeah, but I'm talking about.
The only question is he going to do more than Jalen Reagor? That's all you have to ask. Stop the question ends right there.
But we're talking about something different. We're talking about the future now. My point is, you got to get better. Whether it's Reagor, Watkins, Ward, JJ, you got to get better. As I said, I wouldn't be adverse to blowing the whole room up outside Devontae Smith and turning the whole thing over and bringing in all new receivers. That's how bad it is my point. So you do have to put that into the equation of why this team is not a high volume passing team as well as the quarterback. But man, Devontae Smith and Dallas Goddard are always open. Always open. And you think about it, Jody, they shouldn't be, because nobody should be concerned about the other receivers. You bracket Goddard, you could bracket Devontae and say, okay, go beat me, Quez Watkins. Go beat me, Jalen Reagor. Go beat me, Greg Ward. That's what you should do. They're still open. So those players are really top tier. I would say Goddard's already top 5 tight end in this league, and Devontae's on his way. And if they ever get a higher volume passer, he'll probably be in the top 10 receivers very, very quickly. That's how talented he is. So you have to leave the door open. You have to leave the door open and say, if we can get better at the quarterback position, if it falls in our laps, and you got to pull the trigger. You can't overinflate this playoff berth. But I'm with you. As far as 2022 goes, 95% Jalen Hurts is back as the starting quarterback.
The only way that I could see him regressing is if they happen to match up in the playoffs against Tampa Bay, and he can't beat that Brady guy who has been continually disrespected on his show over the last 2 days. Who, oh, by the way, he's still got Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski. Yes, I understand Godwin is done for the year. Yeah, and Mr. Brown walked out and threw his uniform into the stands. I don't know how much of a hindrance that actually is. He's a talent, and Brady likes him, but I don't think the drop-off production from him to anyone else is going to be all that great. Somehow those two guys, Evans and Gronkowski, who have combined for 18 touchdowns this year. 18. Which two Cowboy players have 18 touchdowns? I'm not sure there's anyone that have those kind of numbers. But
well, let me go. When the Eagles beat the Jets, what did we say after that week? What did everybody say? Not me.
The Jets.
Yeah. What the hell? Why did Tom Brady and the Bucs have so much trouble with the New York Jets?
Well, until they needed to, and then marched it down the field, 80 plays with a minute and no timeouts left.
But
he did the same thing he did to the Eagles. He toys with you until he needs to stick a needle in your eye, and he does just that.
Again, I'm not criticizing Tom Brady. I'm criticizing his supporting cast at this point. That is my criticism. It's not as good as it once was. That's all. I mean, to just wipe out Chris Godwin and who is the third down guy, and say that's not valuable to Tom Brady, especially at this stage of his career, who, let's be honest, he dominates in the middle of the field. That's what he does better than anybody else. Playoff Lenny, to say that's not an impactful loss, I don't know. I think it is. He was a big part of their Super Bowl run. Certainly hasn't lived up to his draft status when he was coming out, but He was a big part of that run. Rob is Rob Gronkowski, first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's not what he once was when he was in New England at the height of his career. He's not. I would say Dallas Goddard is a better tight end than Rob Gronkowski right now.
Do you want to compare the numbers?
No, because he is a high volume quarterback, and I don't think, again, which numbers are you talking about? We can go film numbers, we can go statistics. Again, Dallas Goddard is
usually I equate numbers to statistics.
Yeah, but receivers are at the mercy of their quarterbacks. We know that. We talk about that all the time. Devontae Smith's numbers aren't very good, but you're aware that he's a good receiver when compared, and when I say not very good, to high volume receivers, guys who put up these extraordinary numbers like Jamar Chase. I mean, look at Jamar Chase's numbers compared to Devontae Smith. You'd say, well, Jamar Chase is a heck of a lot better than Devontae Smith. He might be better. He's not a heck of a lot better, but he's got a quarterback that can throw for 525 yards one week and 400 and whatever yards the next week. I mean, that's part of it, Jody.
I understand that. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a guy who's thrown for more yards than anyone in the National Football
Yeah,
League.
and here's the key.
Again, this year.
Here's the key, and nobody can answer this question. What would Dallas Goddard's numbers be with Tom Brady throwing the football? I don't know, but I know they'd be better. And I think they would be better than Gronk's at this stage of his career. I think that. I can't prove it, but I think it.
Understood. But the real debate we're having is the Bucs or the Cowboys. Would you like to compare Gronk's numbers to any of the Cowboy tight ends? And
no, the Cowboys have good tight ends, but certainly not at that level. But the Cowboys' issue is more the receivers, obviously, and with Cooper and Lamb. Even though Gallup is down, they have impressive depth with Cedric Wilson as well. So they're, everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. When it comes to playmakers, their strength is more the receivers than the tight ends. It's when Gallup is out there, it's probably the best receiving group. I don't know if it's the best anymore, but it's still top 5 with Cedric Wilson.
Right. I like Cedric Wilson. He's a nice player. That's one thing Dallas has is some depth at the wide receiver position. All right. We started the show talking about the 12 Eagles ending up in the COVID protocol yesterday. You maybe just slightly more heavy-handed than me. I'm not disagreeing with you, John. Are suggesting that the Eagles have kind of gamed the system and gotten guys into the COVID protocols so they can get them back out before the game this week, possibly, if not certainly before the game next week when they're in the first week of the playoffs. And then they don't have to worry about them again for the rest of the year. They do not need to be retested. Once you have tested positive and been cleared to play, you don't have to test anymore for the rest of the year. And yeah, that's kind of a plus for the Eagles at this stage. And both you and I agree that they figured that out and figured it was time to get a bunch of guys tested. And if you test positive, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It gets you out of being tested again the rest of the year. But they do have a couple of positions that kind of left in the lurch this week, one of which is running back. We know that Jordan Howard isn't 100%. He sure as hell didn't look like 100% running on Sunday. And Boston Scott also tested positive. We know that Miles Sanders isn't going to play. The coach did tell us that yesterday. And he didn't even tell us that. He said, well, I'm not going to make a final designation, but it's pretty likely that he's going to be out this Saturday against the Cowboys. Where are they going for running back for this game, John? Are they going to, and God, this will give you guys so much ammunition. Are they going to get beat 45-0 by the Cowboys this Saturday?
Well, if they keep everybody on the COVID list, they might get trucked. I don't know about 45-0, but it could be ugly. It could be. We've seen these games, and you've seen how ugly whether it was Ian Book in New Orleans or Jake Fromm with the Giants against the Eagles.
No, but they got the Eagles got Gardner Minshew. He's the man.
Yeah,
He was
well,
great against the Jets.
That's true, and he's better certainly than Sean Mannion or somebody like that who you got to see on Sunday nights if you're watching that game. But some of these COVID games have been really, really ugly, and yeah, that'll be the case here. It might be, as I said, Kerryon Johnson and Jason Huntley running the football. You know, the reason they have these oversized practice squads is for this very example, and you just bring those guys up. And look, other than Jason Kelsey, because of the streak, I think wants to play probably a series or two. They might sit all these guys, and if they sit all these guys, you're going to see all those practice squad guys elevated, and you're going to see the Christian Ellises of the world, the Raekwon Williams, Jacoby Stevens, Mac McCains, Cameron Malveaux, Jared Maidens, excuse me, Deion Keynes. Those players, that's who you're going to see. Your favorite Eagles.
All right, let's just give the listeners, viewers, a little tutorial on roster manipulation. On Saturday night, the Eagles roster will be numbered at what? How many players?
47.
47. You are allowed to have how many on your roster, which means you got how many inactives?
It depends who's healthy, who's on the COVID list.
On a normal week, sans COVID or whatever else.
Yeah, 6.
6. So it's 47 to 53. If you have players on the COVID list, you can just add players from the practice squad directly onto the active roster and go above and beyond 53 players, correct?
Well, no, because you're always at 53 because remember the guys on the COVID list. So all those guys don't count against the 53-man roster.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So your number is always 53 if you want to get to 53, if you want to get to 51, if you want to get to 50, whatever, as long as you have enough players to play. But you can't go above 53. But all those guys are wiped off, and that's why you could bring the
right.
Practice
That's
squad
why I'm
up.
saying players who are. It's not like if Jason Kelsey. Well, we won't use Kelsey because I think you're right. I think they're going to try and get him in so that he can keep his streak going. Fletcher Cox. I think there's very little chance that Fletcher Cox is going to play this week. He's going to still be on the Eagles 53. He's not going to be on their 47. If you're saying, well, he's not on the 53 if he's on the well, yeah, but he is. It's not like he's being cut. So you're not taking him off the 53, you're just putting him to the side of the 53 to expand the 53. And that's what getting players on the positive COVID list does for you. It gives you more roster flexibility for the last week of the season. A week in which, yeah, you want to give us some more of those practice squad names again? Some of which I didn't recognize. And I should know everybody on the Eagles practice squad.
We got, what do you want? What position? You want offense?
Offensive
defense?
line.
Offensive line, we got who do we got? We got the best name on the Eagles, Coyote Awasika.
Yeah, we tried to move him onto the roster a couple times this year and didn't get it done.
Yeah, you got Luke Jerica is back. You got Casey Tucker back for the 57th time. So those are your
and the 6 or 7 cornerbacks that they've got on the list.
They don't have many corners on the list because they have most of the corners. The Kerry Vincents of the world and the Tay Gowans and the Josiah Scott, they're on the 53.
Already actually usually playing special teams. How about Jacoby Stevens with a big tackle this past week?
Yeah. Michael Clay brought him up. I asked him a question about Sean Bradley, who's injured, and Andre Sachere, who was on the COVID list and still is. No, he got activated yesterday, actually.
He's the only one. 12 went down, 1 came in. Sachere was the only guy who got reinstated.
But they were the two they're the two best special teams players the Eagles have. Sean Bradley was actually a Pro Bowl alternate as a special teams player. So, yeah, Jacoby Stevens got an opportunity because those guys were out. So did Josiah Scott. Kerry Vincent as well, one of those corners. Mac McCain, our buddy, we got to get him on. Mac, and Mac. He's the only corner on the practice squad right now.
Because when I said practice squad, I meant practice squad and/or guys who are getting deactivated way too often on a continuous basis, because that's what happened with a bunch of guys that they have on the 53-man roster as of right now. Just see if you go with me on this one, J-Mac. I believe the Eagles released from the practice squad yesterday. Maybe they had another guy. Their backup kicker.
Yeah. Matt McCrane, another Mac.
Yeah.
There's too many Macs.
Another guy.
Mac McCain and Matt McCrane. Say that.
Couldn't pick either one of those two Macs out of a lineup if you gave me a head start, as a matter of fact. So I'm guessing that the kicker yesterday, Mr. Elliott, was not told to go over into the COVID test line. They didn't want to take a chance with him that he was going to get a positive test and not be able to get cleared in time. So they told him, no. Go to the room with the quarterbacks. We got a 4-room setup down there. We got 3 quarterbacks in each room. You take the 4th room by yourself. He had no chance of testing positive yesterday because they kind of need him, right?
Yeah, they worked out a punter this week and a couple weeks ago as well. So they have it in the back of their minds that if one of the specialists tests positive, you have a list, and Matt McCrane is the guy. They've already signed him twice, released him twice. So if it was an emergency situation, they just bring him back, obviously, and elevate him. But the rules are easier now. So again, they'll have Jake Elliott test Monday of next week. I guarantee you the whole team's going to test. And if he fails, if it's a positive, he should be able to be back by game day anyway. So that's how they're going to handle everybody, not just the specialists, the quarterbacks, everybody. But you are going to get guys who test positive. And that's why I said on Monday of next week, Jody, we're going to be doing this show, and there's probably going to be some panic, Tuesday, because it'll happen Monday afternoon. So our Tuesday show, there's probably going to be a little panic around Eagles Nation. I'm trying to calm them right now. Don't be concerned about that Monday COVID list.
Except the one thing you got to be careful of, we didn't know till after the Sunday action was over that the Eagles were playing a Saturday game. And there will be a Saturday game next week, first day in the playoffs as well. A Saturday game and a Monday game. We've got the Monday game, there's no issue whatsoever. You got plenty of time, the 5 days to get back. But you cut a little close if you got the Saturday game.
Yeah, but it's not even like Nick Sirianni got cleared in 3 days? It's not even the 5 days anymore. It's and you don't have to test out. It's basically asymptomatic. So, I hate to hopefully doctors are above board. Hopefully they're not James Woods from Any Given Sunday. Hopefully, but man, you got to be. It is. I'll just leave that out there. It is what it is with the NFL. Guys are going to be on the field.
And need one last insight from you before we take our final timeout. I gave you credit earlier for taking your boy Martin Franks back and asking a follow-up question on his whole Delaware situation, which you handled well, Martin handled well, and Sirianni handled well. I take back that credit because of your suck-up happy birthday wish to JG yesterday.
Well, I upset JG the week before because of you. I didn't suck up. That was a suck up by JG. Actually.
No, that was a suck up by you. You had to wish him a happy birthday.
No,
all you guys sitting there, and I think you had the second question. So
that that's why I had to do it, because he brought it up with McLean, who was first, and he said it's my birthday. That was, what am I going to do? Not say happy birthday? That's not.
Yeah, if you're a tough guy, you don't. But you're not a tough guy. But that's okay. Did JG give you anything in your estimation yesterday?
It gave me a little bit on Josh Sweat. That's what I was looking for, because Josh had a big game against Washington. Really started to to turn the corner a little bit when he signed that big extension. And he always uses, JG uses that phrase train wreck, as I use game wreck. He used train wreck. Train wreck's a game. And Josh Sweat was close to that. He was wrecking that game at points. I think it was his most impressive game of the year. It was all over the place. And he's getting better and better. And he was, the Eagles give out players of the game only for wins, not for losses. So he also mentioned, because remember, the players weren't back till today. So even Josh didn't know. It was obvious, but he was the player of the game defensively.
Might have been my favorite aspect of the Eagles' victory over Washington on Sunday, because you and I have talked about it a couple times here on Birds 365, but I've been talking about it on the radio for, 20 years. The fact that defensive rushers can't get their hands up when a guy is throwing a pass. I get it. You're mano a mano. You're going up against a 350-pound guy. You want to put your body in the best possible position to be able to make a play. You can't just quick twitch it and get your hand up there. I never played defensive line in my life. Pee Wee football, I never was a defensive line guy. I understand it, but I don't have personal knowledge of it. It just seems to be more doable than it is in my mind. I don't know why that's the case, but I've been saying it for you. Just get your hands up. If you're not going to get there, if you're not getting home, get your hands up. And the Eagles did that, 4 times? They have 4 batted down.
Yeah, and Josh is one of those guys. I mean, the best of this era, and one of the best ever at that is J.J. Watt. I mean, he was phenomenal at it when he was in his run of 3 defensive players of the year. He was Aaron Donald before Aaron Donald. He was the best I've ever seen at it. But he's also 6'6". That's why they like lengthy guys at pass rush. That's why the prototype is Josh Sweat as an edge rusher. You want that 6'5" lanky guy who can bat footballs. And then there's discipline to it as well, because you gotta if a quarterback, like you're not going to sack Tom Brady. We'll go back to Tom Brady. It's a Tom Brady centric show. He's getting the ball out. He's getting the ball out quickly on time. So, you have this sort of ego with certain pass rushers, and they're trying to get to the quarterback and they want to get sacks. And, and that's what JG talks about a lot as well, is discipline on the pass rush. You have to be disciplined. There's certain weeks quarterbacks are going to give you an opportunity to get sacks. Other weeks, there's certain quarterbacks, they're not going to give you an opportunity. They're just going to get the football out on time. And that's where you better get your hands up. Some guys do it. Some guys don't. Some guys are disciplined. Some guys aren't.
Right. But the thing that gets me is, you're right, because draft time, you're going to have every draft. We'll have our boy Rick Saratel on, and he'll say exactly what you just said. Oh, he's got length. He's a defensive lineman with length. He can potentially pass it down. And then they never do. So what the hell does it matter if you're 6'6" with a 92-inch wingspan if you never get your hands up?
Well, that's why
the picture, but you actually have to be able to get your hands on the ball.
That's why I talk all the time, Jody. The draft does not stop when you hand in the card. You don't get a good player. You don't get a bad player. You get a developing player. Then you got to teach the kid how to play the right way in your particular system. And that's the hard part. Obviously, there's certain guys who are so talented, they're going to be stars no matter what. But those are few and far between, and player development is real, and it's best exemplified in Philadelphia by the offensive line, where you can see other teams can't find offensive linemen to save your life, and the Eagles are rolling out Suo, Petta, and Nate Herbig, and they're just fine.
I do this with reservation because it will get you and Damo and Franklin all that much more excited, but I'll give credit to a Cowboy player. Dan Quinn gets some credit for Micah Parsons. Not the fact that he's an overall talent, because he was that before he ever showed up in Dallas, but Quinn was the guy who said, I think we can use this guy off the edge. which was
Well, yeah,
not
that is
necessarily-
actually a perfect example, Jody, because I'm going to give myself credit. I looked at Micah Parsons and I said, everybody's talking about him as a linebacker, and I remember I get killed for this. He looks like an edge rusher to me. I don't know if he's a
You can do
linebacker.
both.
And yeah, I didn't think he could play linebacker. I thought he had to be an edge rusher, so I'll give myself credit and uncredit as well. I didn't think he could play linebacker, and that's why, because he's only 6'2", and he's got small arms, so he's not supposed to be an edge rusher. But there's a perfect example when a kid has so much talent, he can overcome some of those limitations when they look at what you should be at a particular position. I thought he was an edge rusher. Yeah, he's unbelievable as an edge rusher. But I have to admit also, I didn't think he was instinctive enough to be a great linebacker. And he's shown he's pretty damn instinctive as well.
Yeah, I spoke to Coach Quinn, and he said on John McMullen's recommendation, we thought about using him as a pass rusher. They thought he could play sideline to sideline, which he
by
did.
the way, no, they only put him at pass rusher because DeMarcus Lawrence got hurt. Remember, Randy Gregory wasn't available because of one of his 17 suspensions, or he was injured. So they had nothing at edge rusher. And they said, well, we got to do something. Let's see if Parsons can do it. And then he was able to do it. And then they put him right back at linebacker when those guys got back. They did it out of necessity, Jody. So I'm not giving Dan credit. I'm giving myself credit.
All right. The big shot. Last question before our last timeout. Give me 10-1 odds that Gregory gets suspended before the playoffs.
That's always a possibility.
Oh,
but
all I'm asking for is 10-1. I'm going to bet on yes. You want to bet on no?
I'm going to bet on no. He's gotten through
All right, I got 10-1. My dollar against your 10, McMullen.
Remember, Randy Gregory's biggest issue, not his only issue, but biggest issue was weed, and they don't care anymore about weed. So that helps him out. I had written Randy Gregory off. I'll be the first to admit, even if he could come back and stay unsuspended for a lengthy period of time, I figured it's been so long, he can't have the same physical gifts. I was wrong on that one. He is a monster.
Just a prediction here. Randy Gregory's personal chef, an actual Eagle fan, comes out this week and says Randy Gregory has a made-up vaccination card, a forfeiture vaccination.
Well, you don't have to worry. Of all the opportunities, there's only one. I think there's 9 potential ways the board falls, and the Cowboys-Eagles in the first round is not likely to happen. So you don't even have to worry about it.
Well, I'm not happy about the fact that the most likely one is Tampa Bay, and I think they're up against that Brady guy. All right, coming back to put a bow on the show here on Birds 365.
This is Joe Krause of Krause's Coats, inviting you to donate a slightly worn coat or jacket and help veterans stay warm this winter. Go to Krause's Coats on Facebook to help those who've served. Have a happy holiday.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. 1 free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
The city of Philadelphia sparkles during the Christmas holiday season with an array of colorful light displays and illuminated Christmas trees. Donated or installed for free, by the talented electricians of IBEW Local 98. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and career opportunities at IBEW Local 98, visit us at www.ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
7 on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
As a hardworking American, you've never experienced how tough life can be until now. A catastrophic injury while working on the job. A personal injury from someone else's negligence. Turned away by other law firms in the region who didn't bother to learn your story. It's time to meet the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm and managing partner Brian Fritz. Badly injured? Call the Fritz & Bianculli Law Firm. Find out why they say, we got this.
Go for the midnight dares. Go for the game. Go for the hits. Go for the fans. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
All right, we're already running over, so we're going to exit stage left pretty quickly, but I got one more question for my partner. I saw on your Twitter account 18 hours ago, on second thought, at Jody McMahon was right this morning, never ask for Tom Brady. And then you included a picture of Tom Brady. Yet you continue to stand by this foolishness that the Eagles.
No, Jody, I said I want Arizona. I'm not asking for Tom Brady. I want Arizona, the Los Angeles Rams. I said I don't want the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. However, if you're forcing me to pick one of the two who I would want least, I would say the Cowboys because of the matchup. I said Arizona, 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 and then the Rams. It was Chris Franklin and Damo said they wanted Tampa Bay flat out. I didn't go to that degree, and mainly because of the quarterback and to a certain degree the head coach.
All right, so I'm still confused. How was I right?
Because when people were asking for Tom Brady, and mainly it was Chris Franklin yesterday, I said, I started to think about it because of the issues, the Chris Godwins, the Leonard Fournettes. And I said, yeah, maybe it's a good matchup, but I never went to that degree. And that's where I said on the second thought, now I was starting to waver on my Arizona in the Rams. And then I said, yeah, I'm not wavering. I'd much rather have Cliff Kingsbury.
So you were semi-disrespectful of Tom Brady. You were contemplating even being more disrespectful, but then on second thought, you said, he's Tom Brady. Maybe I shouldn't be disrespectful.
Yeah.
All right, I get it. All right. Still woefully wrong, but I do understand where you are coming from. All right, what do you got today? No coordinator. Usually it's Coordinator Tuesday. They moved them up on you yesterday.
Yeah, that's because they moved up the game. So everything is moved up a day. Just players today at about.
Hey, you want to know? I just thought of this. You might not have to be COVID tested because they might have run out of them down there at the NovaCare complex because they tested so many Eagles. Out of test, you're good to go, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, I wish. Which I still don't have today. I assume it's going to be tomorrow. So might be a Jeff Kerr day on Birds 365. But if it is, I'll be here early.
We shall see. We will see you early, either in the host chair and or as a guest. We'll be back in 22 hours. We appreciate you tuning in today. If you like today's show, I didn't, because I was once again embarrassed for my cohorts.
Come on, it was a great show. You loved
Domowitch. But if you did like it, if you got a yuck out of it, please like, share, subscribe, get on that like button, and hit us up. And be right back here in 22 hours for Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple,